Hello, I hope you're doing well. The other day, I realized that I have not filmed a plan with me for the daily pages of my Hobonichi Cousin in a very long time. So I decided to film 4 days this week. Yeah, Monday through Thursday. And I was gonna make this more of an instructional video. You will notice that throughout this video, I only used 4 Tombow dual brush pen colors, and I wanted to make it a video where I showcase like unique ways of using the same color palette. However, life had other plans, and I just had a lot of curveballs and obstacles thrown my way this week, especially with work. So I was very stressed, and the doodles and ideas aren't as sophisticated as I hoped, but I hope you still enjoy this video and get some inspiration. Okay, so for my overall structure, if you have been around for a while, you probably already know I usually have a to-do list in the left column separated by work and life, and then in the right column I usually start off by answering my daily prompt, and the rest is just free journaling. So initially I was ambitious and I wanted this to be almost like a tutorial and show all of these different cool doodling ideas. Because I was recording this, I definitely spent more time and effort than usual on each page. So if you look at any of my other flip throughs, it's not always this decorated. I will say overall, I had 1 hour and 49 minutes of footage across the 4 days. So that's about, what is that? It's more than 25 minutes, maybe like 27 minutes, 28 minutes per day throughout the day on each page, which I think is quite reasonable. I usually journal once in the morning, maybe a quick check-in in the afternoon, and then finish everything off in the evening. So actually, I think if I wasn't filming this video, I probably would have spent maybe 20 to 25 minutes per day, which I think, again, is pretty reasonable for something that you like to do. So yeah, I often get questions about like how I find the time to journal, and everyone's circumstances are definitely different, but yeah, just for my life, 20 to 25 minutes is something that is manageable for me. Anyways, for Monday, after I finished off my to-do list, I got started on the doodles right away. I decided to do some tulip doodles, and I have done very similar doodles in past spreads. I do tend to reuse themes that I like. And here I'm doing what I like to call my blob method, where I just use my marker and suggest the shape of the thing and draw like a blob. And then I go back in with a gel pen or marker and outline it. And depending on what the prompt is for the day, if it's like an easy prompt or something that I know the answer to right away, for example, what is something that you are looking forward to this weekend? I can probably come up with an answer pretty quickly. But if it's like a more thought-provoking question, like I think for this day, what is a wake-up call you had recently? That is something that I kind of have to think about. So usually when I'm doing these doodles or I am decorating with washi tape or stickers, that is when I think of my answer for the prompt. Yeah, I like to do a lot of like these subtle multitasking tricks. I don't know if that's what you would call it. I think I've talked about this before, but you can see that I used my green marker to draw the 2 bars for the headers as well as the blob up top for the prompt. And I do need to write down the actual header text on top of it, but I need to let that dry. So I just like move on to other stuff, let it dry, and then at the end I write down the header. So I'm not like wasting time waiting for things to dry. Monday was a very productive day, and you can see that I actually skipped my morning entry because I just wanted to jump into work and stuff. So my first entry was actually in the afternoon, and just like by instinct, I usually like to do some big sentiment or maybe a doodle or sticker or washi, just to kind of make up for the space that would have been the morning entry. And I do that because I don't want to have too much space to have to write in the afternoon and evening. Because a lot of my work involves drawing and using my hands all day. Even with something like a fountain pen where I don't have to use as much pressure to write, my hand still tires pretty quickly, so I just like try not to leave too much pressure to write for a single journaling session. These are just like little things that kind of, I guess, I do, and I don't really define that to be a reason, but I think I just kind of adapt as I go. Anyways, speaking of the evening, that is why the lighting of this clip is so terrible. Okay, moving on to Tuesday, which was kind of a weird day. If you saw little snippets on Instagram, I wrote Tuesday upside down, which I will explain the reasoning later. I think Tuesday was the start of my kind of chaotic week. Yeah, so Monday was actually a pretty good day. I was very productive and I was getting work done and I was feeling creative. Tuesday was when I started feeling very dreadful because I had several pieces of bad news come my way that affects the orders on our website, so I was just feeling very anxious. And I actually noticed that I have two very different types of being anxious and overwhelmed with work. One type is that I kind of shut down and I neglect myself and my surroundings, like taking care of the house. I also lose a little bit of my creativity, so my journal tends to be very empty and less colorful and less creative. However, there are also cases where I am so anxious and stressed and busy, but that actually makes me feel more creative and more energetic because of, I guess, adrenaline. And I also use my journal as a creative outlet. So what ends up happening is that my journal is either very empty or just like fully colorful and decorated. Anyways, the reason why I turned my planner upside down to start off my journal entry is because there was this prompt: is there someone you look up to and admire but would not want to trade places with them? And this one was like very hard for me to come up with an answer for, so I definitely like wasn't in the mood to answer that, especially given that my mind was like thinking about all of the things that was going wrong with my business. At the same time, I really wanted to write my first morning entry, so because I didn't want to like estimate the amount of space I would need for my prompt later, I just like turned it upside down so that I can start from the bottom. So yeah, that is the story behind why this entry is upside down. Also on this day, I again just like wasn't really in the mood to doodle, so I ended up doing very, very, very simple flower doodles. I doodled the emoji with a mug to represent the lemon tea that I was having, and I also put down this cat in a loaf of bread sticker. My friend Linda gave that to me, and I really don't have a reason why I put that down. It was honestly like on my desk. I saw it and I had the urge to put it down. And then after all of that was done, I went back to answer the prompt and also fill in my checklist a little bit more. I then put down this eye-rolling emoji sticker because my Wi-Fi just like randomly stopped working. Tuesday morning while I was answering emails on the walking pad, I noticed that like the Wi-Fi was just like dropping and then coming back up and dropping over and over again. I thought it would just kind of resolve itself, but it never did, and I ended up going without Wi-Fi for most of the day. I did have my phone data, but it was really slow. On a normal day, that would be okay. Inconvenient, but it's fine. However, again, Tuesday, I was very anxious because I was getting in like so many pieces of bad news, and I was also like waiting for more news and information, that is. So yeah, waiting for bad news while having unreliable Wi-Fi. That just really added to my stress this week. But we prevail. Moving on to Wednesday, I decided to make this a lemon-ish theme. I doodled a few lemons, and because I wanted to bring in the pink, I decided to draw pink lemonade. Definitely not my most polished doodle, but I think it looks fine. The journaling prompt was, what is a habit that you would like to adopt? And this one was a fairly easy one to think of an answer right away. Just a few hours ago, I finished up the made prompts and published them, but I don't know if I can make it until December. I think this is my second year doing prompts, plus a few months of 2023 possibly. And, there's only so many questions one can ask. And I feel myself slowly running out of creative ideas because I don't want the prompts to be generic ones like, what are 3 things you're grateful for? Or like, what is your dream vacation spot? I mean, there are a few of those more broad, generic prompts mixed in my list, but in general, I do want the questions to be interesting and thought-provoking. At a certain point, I know I'm gonna run out of ideas, so I'm just putting a warning out there, like, you might notice a drop in quality of the prompts, or I might stop doing them in December. We will see as the months pass by. And then I just realized I used another annoyed emoji head on Wednesday as well. But I was annoyed because some of you might know in the mornings I usually walk on the walking pad for, I don't know, like 40 to 2 hours. That did not make sense at all. 40 minutes to 2 hours on the walking pad answering emails. And that usually kickstarts my steps for the day. However, on this day, I realized that I was charging my Fitbit and I wasn't wearing it, so I walked for about an hour and it wasn't recorded. And obviously, like, I walked those steps, so it happened. But I don't know, if you also track your steps, you might be able to relate. It just doesn't feel real unless it is recorded. So that is why I was really annoyed. I'm doodling some fruits because I got my odd bunch delivery. This was my second box and I canceled it already, not because I didn't like it. It was actually really exciting, but it was causing me more stress than it was taking away, just due to my very interesting psychology. And then the last thing that I doodled for Wednesday was this distressed emoji screaming, I dropped my quinoa. I usually meal prep a bunch of ingredients, and this week I made some quinoa. And as I was getting it out of the microwave, I just had this thought to shake the container without the lid being secure. I don't know why I did that, but I shook it, and as you can imagine, burning hot quinoa, these like tiny little pebbles just flew all over my kitchen. It got on my hand and my clothes, and I stood in my kitchen for a solid like 2 minutes, not moving, wondering what the heck just happened. So yes, let's add this to the list of unfortunate things that happened this week. But it's actually pretty funny. Okay, Thursday, the last day, I decided to make this a citrus theme, and I don't know if you picked up on it, but even though all 4 spreads doodles are kind of different, they kind of match each other as well. So Monday and Tuesday, Monday was tulips and Tuesday was these like generic flowers, so they were both floral. And then for Wednesday it was the pink lemonade, and then Thursday is like general citrus. I doodled slices of lemon, orange, and grapefruit, and then for the lime I just drew the actual lime. And I really wanted to avoid filming in the evenings because my lighting is terrible in the evenings, but if I'm trying to showcase how I naturally journal throughout the day, it just happens that a lot of my entries are done in the evenings, especially on days where I'm stressed during the morning and afternoon. So yeah, on this day I set up my spread in the morning, and I didn't write a morning entry nor an afternoon entry, and we just jumped straight into nighttime. And I basically just recapped everything and ranted a little bit, I think. I also hand lettered everything, everywhere, all at once, which is actually the title of a movie which I watched last year, and it was a really good movie, but yeah, I felt like it was appropriate. So I think that is all I have to say for this video. Yeah, I haven't done a daily video in quite a while. I don't know if you prefer these over weekly ones, but I will try to do more. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful May ahead, and take care. Bye.